Dr. Time, tell us again about your background and what you're currently doing today.
Sure. I went to medical school, was on that path for a while, was on the clinical side, transitioned to the pharmaceutical industry where I served in-house as a subject matter expert on all medical communications, medical marketing, medical messaging. Work closely with different departments to make sure that the information being presented to the outside world, whether it's going to doctors, patients, whether it's being communicated through television, radio, magazines, internet, that the messaging was appropriate, accurate, fair balance, and ultimately there to serve the community. And then I realized that although I was using my medical education, although I was impacting the community and looking out for the community, working within a pharmaceutical company, I wasn't completely fulfilled. I was comfortable, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy, so to speak. I felt something was missing. So it took a lot of reflection and time to realize that I need to change the direction of my life. No matter how hard it may be to make such a transition.
So tell us, I thought it was very interesting what you just shared about your background and what you did previously. So tell us, how did you make that transition from where you were to where you are today?
You mean from the medical side?
Yes. How did you successfully transition from a medical career to what you're doing today?
So I actually started this nonprofit about 10 years ago.
Okay.
I did it as a labor of love. And when I gave birth to the nonprofit and its mission with a team of people that were instrumental in making that happen, I handed it off to people I thought that would be the best parents to this nonprofit baby of sorts. And but it was always in the back of my mind.
Right.
And I always kept in touch with the people that were helping nurture this mission. And then with that in the back of my mind, when I had this professional and personal epiphany, it's more of a revelation that, hey, I'm using my education, all the investment I made of time and resources to go through medical school, get a doctor of medicine. I realized that just because I made that investment,
Right.
made the sacrifices to bring that to fruition, didn't mean that I had to stay on that path for the rest of my life. So that was the first, because it's natural, right, to think, oh, I spent this many years of my life, this set of resources, financial and otherwise, energy, just dedication.
Right.
And I think maybe that's an issue that a lot of people have when they want to pivot, is they think that I've spent so much time and effort on this.
Right.
And it could be personal stuff too. Sometimes in our personal lives, we have to make the same decision. That despite investing time, energy, resources into a certain personal endeavor, which could be relationships or hobbies or anything that's not related to our professional life, we have to do these audits and say, is maybe at a certain time and place, this was the right thing for me to focus on, but maybe now it's time to move on.
That's great. That's great. So I think what you just brought up was a very awesome perspective, and how this approach that you took that really informed you when it was time to move to something new. What really helps you do that? Because what you just said, you said it can be difficult after a period of time to transition in our careers. So what do you feel helps you be successful in that transition?
Self-awareness. Self-awareness. I think a lot of times people get caught up in the routine, and our lives turn into assembly lines, and we just go through the motions. It happens professionally, it happens personally. So having that awareness and stopping to think and an assessment. Earlier I referred to it as an audit. It's the same thing. Audit, assessment, self-reflection, self-awareness. These are all different versions of the same idea. So I think that's the first step is awareness. To just step back and in a healthy way just question, what am I doing? What is my purpose? What are my short-term goals, long-term goals? What am I hoping to achieve on a personal level, professional level, financial level, spiritual level, relationship level? And just see, is this what I'm doing now? Maybe it was the perfect thing for me a year ago, 5 or 10 years ago, but maybe things have changed. And until you step back and have, there's a certain amount of courage, because you have to acknowledge that this may not be the right thing for me. And I think it can overwhelm people, because if they say, oh, if I acknowledge and have awareness that this is not where I should be right now,
Right.
the implications of that can be overwhelming. It's an existential crisis sometimes as well.
Yes. So what if, I love all the things that you just said, the assessing, the reflecting, and the acknowledging and taking, it takes courage to be willing to accept that and to make a change.
Sure.
So what have you found most rewarding in your career today? So you left the medical career, and can you tell us again the name of your nonprofit that you're leading? And what have you found most enjoyable about this point in your career?
Sure. So the nonprofit is called the Honor Loan Entrepreneurship Program. But as part of the pivot in terms of growing that nonprofit, I have a corporate brand, Time Talks.
Okay. Time Talks.
And Time Talks is the modality with which I bring the entrepreneurial mindset to different ecosystems, and in turn that not only promotes the overall mission of encouraging people to think like entrepreneurs in all areas of their life, but also it helps fund some of our philanthropic endeavors. So instead of going out there and looking for donations or grants, which are still important, this is a more entrepreneurial solution, is to provide services and add value. So that's where I'm at now, and I think the rewarding part is that I didn't just teach entrepreneurship, I practiced it. because a lot of times subject matter experts in any field, they've been doing it so long that they compartmentalize what they're teaching with what they're doing in their own lives. It happens all the time. Even just doctors, they can give the perfect advice in terms of what to do to have optimum physical health, mental health, so forth, but they may not always practice it themselves.
Understood.
So I think so I had to kind of do that, where I had to say, okay, I'm teaching this, I'm promoting this, I'm a champion of this entrepreneurial thinking, this mindset, but now I need to practice whatever I'm preaching, and it's hard, but it's given me even a deeper level of appreciation and empathy for the groups that I'm privileged to serve.
Excellent. So we are near the end of our time together today, and we would love to stay connected with you. If you had to leave one bit of advice to someone who's considering a change in their career, what would that be?
Start with the why.
And say more.
Start with the why. So you have to reverse engineer your life sometimes. Decide what matters to you, where you want to be personally, professionally, and then work backwards. Another way of engaging in that thought process is to, I think of the rocking chair analogy. If you were in your rocking chair in the twilight years of your life and you were looking back, would you have regrets? Would you have done things differently? So in some ways it's a form of time travel. You first project yourself into the future. Not just think it, but feel it. Feel that stage of life and look back. And if you were given the opportunity to travel back in time to where you are now, what would you do differently?
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us. And how can we stay connected with you? If others want to follow up with you about your nonprofit or about your career path, how can they contact you?
So the website, timetalks.org, so timetalks.org is our website. Instagram is Michael Time, MICHAELTIME. Those are the two primary ways to, and LinkedIn, of course.
Awesome. Yes, we're connected there. So,
Yes.
of course, so most definitely. Well, thank you, Dr. Time, for spending time with us and sharing your great career journey and insights for us. So we look forward to staying connected with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.